Welcome, Dr. Holliday Bell, the Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. Today, we're going to be talking about the work you do. And you do a lot of work, but today we're just going to have a focus on your sleep specialty, where you help people with their sleep deprivation, getting back onto a healthy sleep cycle. And all of that is underneath the umbrella of health and wellness. The work you do is amazing. You help people recover, get back on track, get out of burnout, everything people need to do to be in a better place. I'm so happy to have you on so we can talk about the work that you do. But I always love to have my guests, in their own words, tell the world who they are, what they do, and how they help.
Absolutely. Yes. So I am Dr. Holliday Bell. As you mentioned, I'm a board certified physician as well as a certified sleep specialist. When I introduce myself, I like to kind of start with what brought me into this world of sleep. I'm someone who previously suffered from insomnia as I was going throughout my medical training and saw what a toll that took on me both mentally and physically. And I really just was not the best version of myself. And so it really started with my own quest to fix my sleep. As I started to dive deeper into sleep, I fell in love with it and saw how really critical and important it was to every facet of overall functioning. And so in that journey, I started to spread the word and help other people who also suffer from sleep issues. And it's really become something that I'm so passionate about. And I help people in a multitude of ways. I have my own sleep company called The Solution is Sleep, where I provide consultations to individuals with a range of sleep struggles, from people who just say, I just need help getting my sleep back on track, to people who have suffered from years of chronic insomnia. And then I also work with organizations to help their workforce sleep better, to live happier, healthier, more productive.
Yeah, sleep is so important because it's going to set you up for a strong, powerful day. And if you are just tired at work, you're not going to be your best worker. You just have to figure out, how can I be the best self I can? And it can be difficult some days, especially if you're a parent. You might not have sleep deprivation, but that child will give you sleep deprivation. So you're just like, you're
Exactly.
just like, what's going on? Like, I'm not getting any sleep. You're just a zombie. So there's going to be aspects to sleep that are going to be out of our control, but there's going to be aspects of our sleep that are in our control. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have sleep issues like insomnia. They can't go to sleep on a regular schedule. It could be work, it could be chemical. What is your experience with that? Do you find that most people are having a hard time getting to sleep because maybe of our cell phones, maybe because of stress? What do you see in your world?
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head, in that there are so many different reasons and so many people in different stages of life who struggle from sleep issues. And so it typically isn't just one thing that we can pinpoint and say, this is the reason that you're not getting enough sleep. I will say, for the most part, stress and anxiety are the two biggest components and culprits that lead to sleep issues. That can be stress and anxiety from work, from home life, from what's going on in the world, from specific situations. There are so many things, but I think the issue with sleep is that, if there is a short term, stressor or anxiety, people tend to fall into bad habits that then further promote sleep problems. So, as you mentioned, getting on your phone late at night, sleeping in on the weekend, staying up late and not giving yourself enough time to sleep, not getting enough daylight. So, there are all these things that kind of add on and it then cause a snowball effect that make it so much harder to kind of come back from.
Yeah, stress and anxiety are going to be, as you said, one of those things that people just struggle with on a frequent and constant basis, whether it be figuring out where their next paycheck is coming from, trying to juggle all of the hats in the family. If you have responsibilities that are maybe beyond what you just have to do every single day, can tack on more anxiety. And work sometimes is very stressful, especially if you have like a boss who's just like on your booty. It's like, hey, I need this done by Wednesday. You're like, it's Tuesday and you want a full
Exactly.
presentation. So I feel for people when they have stress for every bit of the world and anxiety, the same thing. But we do have to have healthy coping mechanisms when it comes to stress and anxiety. What would be some examples of a healthy way to de stress or to get rid of some of the anxiety that a person could be feeling?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I'll start by saying too, the problem with stress and anxiety and sleep is that it's kind of this chicken and egg vicious cycle. Because if you have stress and anxiety, it can impact your sleep, and not getting enough sleep makes you more anxious and stressed. It makes you less resilient to stress. And so it kind of builds up. And so it really is important to break that cycle. I'm glad you brought up work, because I think for a lot of people, the work life tends to be a big stressor and then spills over into nighttime and the night routine, and then again leads to poor or insufficient sleep. And so I like to remind people that the way that you deal with the stress and even setting yourself up for good sleep at night starts with what you do during the day. So really setting yourself up for good sleep starts the moment you open your eyes. As you mentioned, there are some things not in our control. We have a boss who's constantly on our backs and, hassling us and wants something tomorrow that, today we can't really control that. But there are some things we can control that decreases the stress load, I call it, right? So we all are going to experience stress and anxiety, but how can we decrease that load so that we're bringing less to bed with us? That can start by simply de-stressing your morning routine. So many people hit that snooze button 5 or 10 times. By the time they wake up, they're rushing to get ready and maybe in their commute or even just to sit down if they work from home. And you're already starting out with a higher stress load from there. So doing things like preparing as much as you can in advance, planning enjoyable activities with your morning can make a huge difference. Scheduling breaks throughout your day, and I mean like small breaks. Research has shown small breaks of just 5 to 10 minutes every 90 minutes has been shown to prevent decision fatigue, decrease stress, and improve overall well-being. So to really give your mind a break and do something that exercises a different part of your brain than work. So it can be something creative, listening to a podcast, a crossword puzzle, taking a walk outside, just something to kind of give yourself that mental space. And then really knowing how to disconnect and unplug after work. So when you're at work and things are stressful and you have, a boss who's on your back and all these other things, if you don't find a way to truly disconnect, your brain stays in that same mode when it comes time to fall asleep. And that is not conducive to sleep whatsoever. So you have to find a way to unplug. That can be picking a time that you're going to stop work, especially if you work from home, is really difficult to do, but say, okay, work is over at 5 or 6 and then stop working. Don't bring work into the spaces that you relax, like your bedroom in particular. Engaging in a decompression activity before work is very helpful to mentally disconnect. So some routine, it can be, however or big or small you want, but that signals to your brain that work is now over and now we're doing something relaxing. So again, that could be putting on your favorite song, taking a walk, lighting a candle. Scent is a very strong sense tied to memory and can help make that transition. But you want to fully unplug and then practice relaxation techniques like deep breathing exercises, meditation, journaling have all been shown to help decrease stress and anxiety and be more conducive to sleep.
I love the idea of just reducing your stress load because we all have stress. Stress is one of those needed things we need. It could be a good thing, right? If we just look back at the prehistoric times when we were cavemen and women and we are just running around and running away from dinosaurs and stuff like that, right? Just kind of, exaggerating a little bit there, but we had stress, right? We needed that stress in order to stay alive. And our body doesn't evolve, I guess you could say, as quickly as we would like it to be because we live in a very easy time where we don't have as many stresses as we did previously. So we don't have to necessarily worry about our safety and survival as we did 100,000 years ago. So we have police, we can call 911 if there's a problem. And typically things are going to be taken care of a lot more effectively and efficiently. So that level of stress is not there. But what I found is that people will give themselves more stress. So they'll say, oh, well, I got rid of that stress. So let me give myself some more stress. So they just finished paying off all their credit cards. So like, I just paid off all my credit cards. I'm kicking butt. Now they just got a new car. So it's like you just went off from one crazy, anxious, and stressful ride and just put yourself on another crazy, anxious, and stressful ride, just like we get into that habit of, I didn't get enough the first time. Why do you think people keep doing that to themselves where they keep giving themselves more stress after they de-stress?
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think it all starts with mindset and mind state and really mentally getting over the need for that. Some, like you said, there's some stress that's good stress, right? And some like anxiety that's good anxiety. There's like this nervousness that causes us to act. The problem is our bodies react the same way, whether we're running from a dinosaur or whether we're stressing ourselves out in another way, right? Like we have that fight or flight response that sends the adrenaline and the cortisol rushing through our bodies. And it's supposed to prepare your body to either fight or flight. But if it's turned on all the time, even when you're not in danger of a real threat, that's problematic because it's meant to be a short term thing that causes you to act in some way, get yourself out of danger, and then go away. But we're constantly stressed or even sleep deprived also leads to the same response. That's not good for our bodies to have that level turned on all the time. But I think people haven't necessarily broken out of that mindset of like constantly being under some sort of stress or even realizing that they're putting themselves under some sort of stress and realizing that it's okay to take a step back, to rest. That's the other thing I try to get people to understand. You deserve to rest. You don't have to earn it. It's not this hustle and grind situation that you always have to be pushing yourself to, to the end or to the edge. And then after so long of doing that, you can reward yourself with rest. No, you should be resting at baseline and then utilizing your other time to function and perform the way that you want to. And resting allows you to do that. But that requires a mindset shift, especially in the society we live in, to kind of peel back all the layers of things that we've been taught over the years and to say you don't have to be living at this on the edge state all the time. It's okay to step back from that and rest.
Yeah. The mindset is going to be important because if people are just doing the wrong things over and over again, is either ignorance or there's just a programming issue where you were taught something and that's your belief and you just have to adjust it. It doesn't have to be that you have to change as a person. It's just that if you're doing something that's not helpful to you in the long run and is giving you stress, it would benefit you to say, well, what is the alternative? What can be better for me? And you brought up a great point where you said short-term versus long-term stress. A short-term stress might be going to the gym. So for an hour, I'm going to stress my body out, run on the treadmill, be sweating and huffing and puffing by the end of it. That short-term stress leads to long-term benefits. However, we can have long-term stress that can be of a toxic relationship, maybe a bad boss, a bad work environment. It could be your kids, right? You're stuck with your kids for 18 years at minimum. So that can be a long-term stress, especially if you have some rambunctious individuals in the house. So I wanted to get your take on how to deal with short-term stress and then looking at the long-term stress and how to deal with that. Is there a difference?
So there's certainly a difference. And I think it depends on the state that you're putting yourself in. And what I mean by that is the gym is a perfect example. It is you are intentionally stressing and stretching your muscles. They actually break down a little bit when you're strength training and then they repair and recover and they're stronger. But you do that for an hour a day. Most people who are fitness trainers and things like that will tell you don't work out every single day. Don't work out for too long because your body needs a time to rest and recover. And funny enough, most of that happens while you're sleeping. So your body sends out the growth hormones and increasing protein and all those things while you're sleeping. There's a reason for that. So a short-term stress, just like if you're going to give a presentation, you get a little bit anxious or nervous beforehand, that may cause you to perform a little bit better. The presentation is over and everything kind of calms down. So short-term stress can be helpful and it's different than long-term. What I find, especially as it relates to sleep, is that people will have this short-term stressor. So again, let's say you're starting a new job and you're anxious and the workload is high, you have a new boss. So initially they're not getting sleep because they're stressed out about that, right? They're thinking about work, they're trying to settle in, their cortisol adrenaline is high at night. So then they say, okay, well, I'm just going to drink a lot of cups of coffee during the day because I didn't sleep well at night. And so now I'm having coffee in the afternoon and maybe in the evening because I have to stay up to work late. And then now I'm tired, so I'm going to take some naps later in the day because I'm tired, and then I'll wake up a little more energized. But now I'm not sleepy to go to bed at that time. And so what this is doing is extending what should be just a short-term stress that once you get adjusted to things, it gets better. You are engaging in behaviors that makes this long-term. And so now you have sleep problems that become more significant than the initial stressor because it's the downstream effects, it's the behaviors that we've engaged in to compensate for the short-term stress. So it really is focusing on the short term. What can I do to help bypass the stress, but also maintain the same healthy behavior so that once this stressor is over, it's not impacting me in the long term. Again, that starts with mindset and just keeping a healthy relationship, especially with sleep and the stress of your day and surrounding it, and focusing on healthy behaviors you can implement as opposed to the unhealthy behaviors that you're using to compensate.
And how about the long-term version? Is there a way to get over that easily? Like kids, as the example I gave?
Well, so it depends, right? Everybody's situation is a little bit different. I think when you have a stressor that you know is going to be there longer than short term, again, it's about mitigating the load of the stress. So the stress is going to be you're going to have that, but how can you decrease the load in the surrounding stressor so that it's not just building on each other? So yes, kids can be difficult to a certain extent, especially infants when it comes to sleep, knowing that you're not going to be sleeping for the first few months of the baby's life because you have to wake up every 2 to 3 hours, but that doesn't mean that's always going to be the case. And so decreasing your stress load in other areas so that that doesn't become as significant, trying to find ways to offload some of that. If you have a partner or family members that can help, ask for help. I think that's so important too. So many people don't want to do that. Ask for help and don't contribute to the stress in other ways that just makes that load too high.
That's why God gave us grandpas and grandmas because
You
they
know,
are
yes,
there
yes.
for us. If something is wrong, call grandma. If we need a babysitter, grandpa's always willing to help. Having people to raise your child that are family, it's that community, that tribe mentality that we're getting away from as people. And I think a lot of the stress that we give ourselves is we think we have to fight the world by ourselves. We have to do everything by ourselves. That is so far from the truth because typically, if you're in a work environment, you're in a team, you probably have a manager or a supervisor. We can ask for help. And I always tell people on my team, I said, listen, if you need help, you come to me. Don't wait until it's meeting time in a month or whatever to say, yeah, I didn't get it done. I was just so busy. Like, why would, where's that communication at? Let's have a little bit of communication. Get rid of that stress that you are now getting down to the meeting deadline. You're trying to do everything by yourself. I have no problem helping, but at the same time, I need to be made aware. If you are struggling with a long term type of stress, you have to let other people know, like, hey, I'm dealing with this. Ask for some help. Sometimes I think people, they look for a quick fix when they're afraid to ask for help. They'll say, well, let me go to Google. Let me see what I need. So they'll get some melatonin, they'll get some
Yeah.
Z-Quil, they'll take some Tylenol PM, whatever it takes to go to sleep. And then they say, well, now I'm tired because they didn't get any sleep or whatever. So how can I stay awake? I'm going to get some Red Bull. I'm going to get some
Yep.
Monster. I'm going to get those energy 24-hour shots. All of this junk that our body doesn't need. Our body gives us what it needs. And we just have to make sure we take care of our body. I want to make this the last talking point, and I want to get into how I don't know if you want to call it the health industry or the personal wellness industry gives these substances or gives these medicines to people as the band-aid fix, and people use them because that's what they think they need. I want to get your take on that as a doctor. Do you think it's helpful, or do you think it's going to be something that's very harmful to people in the long run?
Yeah, so I think it's exactly what you said in that people, especially today, love a quick fix. No one has patience anymore. Everybody's like, I have this problem. What can I take to fix it? And unfortunately, when it comes to sleep, there is no quick fix. There is not this one magic bullet pill or whatever that we can give you to fix your sleep issues because typically it's behavioral and it comes down to cognition. So, when you think about sleep and then the subsequent actions surrounding it. And it takes time to build those healthy behaviors to get you to sleeping well. The problem with the sleep medications and supplements and pills is that they kind of slap a band-aid on the issue, but it doesn't fix the underlying problem. And when I talk about these things, I like to split it up into two different things that we think about, right? We have our over-the-counter medications like melatonin and Z-Quil and all those things. And then we have your prescription sleep medication. The over-the-counter ones will start there. These are things that people just go to on their own and say, okay, I'm having sleep issues. Let me just take this. The problem is that most of them are not super effective for sleep. So again, people will take larger and larger quantities or feel like they're not working and not understand why. Some of them are helpful in certain situations. Like melatonin is definitely helpful in certain situations. If you're traveling and you're struggling with jet lag, if your schedule has been thrown off for a long period of time and you need to shift your circadian rhythm, a short-term course of melatonin can be helpful along with healthy behavior changes. But without those healthy changes, it's not going to be this magic bullet when you think about it's, and they're probably not very harmful, so to speak, but they're not going to be helpful, right? You're just going to be stuck in the same position and it's frustrating. It's this vicious cycle. Prescription sleep medications, unfortunately, the prevalence of them are increasing along with sleep issues because people are wanting quick fixes. Most physicians, and I can speak for myself as someone who is a physician and now, also a certified sleep specialist, we don't get a lot of training on sleep. No, nor do we have a lot of time typically to really dig into those things. So it's easier to say, hey, take this pill. Hopefully this helps you sleep and not dig into the other things. The problem is those pills don't tend to be helpful in that even for individuals that they cause to fall asleep, it makes you more sedated than it does allowing you to go throughout the different sleep cycles. So most people still wake up groggy, tired, headaches, and feel worse than they did without it. Yes, you were asleep for, 7 or 8 hours, but if it's not that good restorative sleep, what really is the point, right? And then what happens is over the time you develop tolerance. So you need higher and higher doses to get the same effect. And it just, again, ends up being this band-aid. And once you stop taking it, the sleep problems come right back. It's called rebound insomnia. Everything is still there because you didn't fix it. You just masked it. So I am a proponent of really fixing those behaviors and thoughts surrounding sleep and utilizing certain supplements as an aid to that, but not a replacement. So things like magnesium glycinate, I love, and it's not this magic sleep aid. It's actually something that is needed as a cofactor in over 300 functions throughout the body that helps to calm the nervous system and aids you in all the other healthy things that you're doing. So I think that's excellent. Other than that, it really goes back to those healthy behaviors, peeling back those layers that have led you to the place that you're in, because unfortunately, there just isn't a great quick fix for sleep issues.
Yeah, I know doctors get a bad rap sometimes because they're so quick to give medication and things like that. But I think most doctors have good hearts where it's
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
want to help this individual who's struggling right now. I want to help them. And if this pill has the ability to maybe help them, let's try it out. It could work. It might not work. Sometimes people will start something and then they say, well, like this is my placebo, and it works for a little
Mhm.
bit
Yeah.
because, like if you give someone a Tic Tac and you say it's aspirin, their pain goes away, right? So our brain knows what to do. If you go see a doctor and you have a pain and the doctor takes care of you, it's almost like our brain is like, okay, we're fixing this. But how long does that last? As you said, we need to fix the root issue. It does take courage. It does take a little bit of putting yourself out there to tell someone your issues, tell someone that you're having a problem, not fighting this fight alone. And that is why I wanted to have you on so you can make yourself prevalent to the world so the world can see that there's people like you who want them to finally get a good night's rest. And it's not about getting the most luxury mattress or in the world and getting all these cube pillows that are out right now. It's about figuring out, well, what does your body need right now? And I think our bodies are just is like disheveled from all of the stress, from all of the technology, from our social medias and everything. Like our brain is just moving at such a rapid race. And it's hard to slow it down, especially now you're trying to unplug. It's bedtime. How do we do that? And I think you have some great advice. We talked about many of those things today. I think when someone is having a hard time sleeping, you will be a great resource for them to reach out to and then start to figure out, well, how can I get back on track? How can I start to sleep better? Because as we said early on, sleep is going to be maybe one of the most important things you do each and every day. It doesn't matter if you go to sleep at night or if you work at night and you go to sleep in the morning. Just understand your cycle, understand that you need this sleep in order for your body to heal, grow, and flourish. As we begin to wrap up, I would love to get any final words from you, and then please tell the audience where they can find you.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I resonate and echo everything that you just said. I like to empower people to ask for help and let them know you deserve sleep. You deserve good quality sleep, just like you deserve anything else in life. And if you're not getting that and you can't figure out why, ask for help, reach out because you deserve it. And so that's the first thing is I like to empower people in that way. There are resources out there, and I love to be a resource. I try to educate as much as I can just freely so that people feel like they have access to that. So, in terms of where you can find me, I have a website called thesolutionistsleep.com. I have blog posts on there that go into a lot of different sleep issues and sleep strategies and techniques. I have my services that I offer on there as well, and my contact information so you can reach out. I provide some educational content on both LinkedIn at Dr. Holliday Bell, as well as Instagram. I'm the sleep underscore MD, and I like to give bite-sized, entertaining, but educational tips there. And then I also have a book coming out called Sleeping on the Job, Proven Strategies to Optimize Your Workplace Performance and Personal Well-Being Through Better Sleep. And there I just pour out my heart, all the strategies, very specific, tactical, practical things that make huge changes and huge differences. You touched on whether you sleep at, night or during the day. I think that's a huge issue. So I talk about how to get better sleep if you're a shift worker, if you work at night, if you're rotating shifts, if you work from home, just like different things that really impact your sleep life, and hope that it can lead to many, many people getting better nights of sleep.
Perfect. I would definitely throw all those links in the description box below so people can follow you and then stay tuned for that book because that book is going to be a lifesaver for so many individuals. Because if they know how to not sleep on the job and not sleep in life, right, to go live life fully, to wake up full of energy, excited for the day, that's going to lead you to so much more. It's going to lead you to a better, stronger mindset, better, stronger relationships, and the best them possible. And I love our conversation. I love the work that you do. The conversation we had today was light, it was brief, but it's to the point. how to help people get back on track with their sleep schedule. What I want for my viewers to do is not only to check you out, but to commit to a strong sleep cycle where you're going to commit to saying, okay, if I'm not sleeping well, I'm going to sleep well, because that is where you get your energy from. That is where you start to change your whole entire dynamic, your mindset shift. Because if you're tired, you're most likely not energetic. If you don't have energy, you're not going to do things. And I want you to do amazing things in your life. I think Dr. Holliday Bell is going to be a great start. She's a great resource, as I said earlier, to get that energy you need. I want to thank you so much, Dr. Holliday Bell, for coming on Coaching in Session. Great conversation.
Thank you for having me.